Okay, the next thing that we want to look at is, again, there is a recommendation which says assess your own leadership approach and develop a personal action plan for continuing to improve as a leader. So for a leader in whichever organization you might be, wherever it is that you are working, how do you get into some of these things? How do you say that, okay, fine, I'm going to assess my own leadership approach? What usually happens is you approach the L&D team or the HR department or somebody, and you say, okay, fine, this is what I have heard I need to do somewhere, and I need to assess my own leadership approach and develop a personal action plan for continuing to improve as a leader. Your leadership approach is built from a few things. Now let me first outline those things. The first thing that builds your leadership approach is your own personal life experiences. So what is it that you've experienced right from the age of 1 year plus to the time you have, whatever that present time is, and from 1 year plus to say about 17 years of your age. And again, this is highly debatable, and there's a lot of folks who will say, no, it's not 17, it's 20, or it's maybe 15. Till then your personality is frozen, and 90%, okay, let me not say 90%, let me say 80% of it will remain the same. So there's no way that anybody will be able to change it. No way you can change it. Okay, so what you will be able to change and what you will be able to assess as far as your own leadership approach is concerned is probably your behaviors. So how your personality translates into behaviors, and how people external to you, how folks external to you, which is really weird to say because mostly everybody is external to you, but everybody in your environment who is not even your own real brother, sisters, your children, your wife, absolutely everybody in this world will only understand your personality from the behavior that you display, right? And your personality is frozen is what I'm saying. So how do you assess your own leadership approach? So what you need to understand first is you understand your personality, you understand what behaviors, why is this not correcting? Okay, what behaviors are going to present your personality to the external world. And once you have understood those, then you have to understand something which is the most difficult. So your personality, you could probably understand, you could play those games which say, who am I, what do I like, this, that, play all those random games also that people nowadays somehow try and push. And when you try and ask them, okay, fine, what is the basis of this particular game? They say, no, we don't necessarily believe in psychometrics. So there's a lot of people out there who like to, just pass on absolutely everything or anything rather to learners, and not necessarily stand by their knowledge, or not necessarily say that this is based on something which is scientific. Even remotely scientific is okay with, with people like me. Even if you have a remotely scientific theory which you think will work, and you are trying to propose that as a personality theory or whatever it is that you want to call it, go ahead and do that, but don't make false claims. And when people challenge them openly in public on a forum or wherever, they say, no, we don't necessarily believe in psychometrics. So okay, so own personal life experiences, say 1 year to 17 years, those have kind of become the core of you. Those are your individual personality. They are frozen within you. 80% of it will always remain the same. It will not change. The personality translates into whatever is your behavior to the external world. So internally you might be extremely passive, but externally you are very aggressive, right? So internally you could be somebody who's extremely passive, but externally you could be extremely aggressive. And if that is the situation, that there is a difference between whom you are internally and externally, most people will not understand you, and they will say that this particular individual, whoever it is, she is very unstable. And probably on some assessment, let me just take one example. On, say, the DISC assessment, the steadiness particular parameter for you might never come out to be might never come out to be in the positive, or might not have a very high ranking. Now, having said this, most leaders assess our own leadership approach, it says, and develop. Most leaders will not have access to these particular tools. So most of them might not have access to, say, a desk profile, or if they have access to a desk profile, then how the desk profile gets explained to them, or once they have a certain report, like I keep carrying my MBTI report around, what exactly do I interpret it like? How do I understand? So all these things unfortunately end up becoming a gray area. So what I want to do is, because this was not necessarily planned, but because I have reached a certain juncture within this discussion or dialogue or monologue, whichever way you want to call it, I would love to get into some of these things and explain them further to you. Now, the personality which is core will not change, I have said. Then what exactly can a leader do to improve his situation? So let's say you are somebody who's extremely negative on steadiness. So what you need to do is, probably you need to move into a role, move your own cheese, to pick up one extremely old term which is used in change management. So move your own cheese to a role which is more challenging and does not necessarily require steadiness or monotony. So once you do that, once you make that change, and I'm not saying that everybody can do that, but go ahead and try at least. So once if you make that change, you will not necessarily be in conflict with your inner self. You won't have any inner conflict. And if you have inner conflict, then internally you might be passive, externally you might be aggressive, or the other way around. Internally you might be aggressive, externally you might be passive. So there are different terms in psychology which are there for such things. But the point being, there is inner conflict. Inner conflict will also be there not only for personality reasons. Inner conflict will also be there for reasons of ethics, for reasons of culture, for ingrained culture that we'll have, the ingrained ethics that we'll have, and also inner conflict will be the first reaction that you will have to any kind of change that's externally forced on you. So firstly, you need to understand what is it that is causing the inner conflict. Secondly, you need to see whether you can manage this yourself and still be steady and productive in the current situation, or you need to change roles, change industry, or say change whatever it is that is required to be done to ensure that this inner conflict vanishes. If you are not doing this, if you're not necessarily doing this, and you still have the inner conflict present because of all of these reasons, it will make you less and less productive every day, right? So when they say assess your own leadership approach and develop a personal action plan for continuing to improve as a leader, you need to be more and more productive every day. You cannot be less and less productive. And whatever it takes to make sure that you are more and more productive, you have to get those things done. Now, how does somebody justify this? Because obviously, once you are leaders with a lot of experience, and there are a lot of organizations that talk about not hiring people above a certain age, or not being bothered about certain profiles and this that. And I actually got into a conversation with somebody. The gentleman told me he's had some heart problems also, and he kind of. I built this story around people not being agile after the age of 40 and this and that, and the general perception. He was just going ahead and basically saying yes to whatever is the general perception about such things. But what you need to understand, and of course, then I also refer to that other LinkedIn discussion which caused a lot of people a lot of heartburn, wherein some author on LinkedIn said that after a certain age, people in the IT industry make themselves extremely redundant and also extremely unemployable. So there are a lot of folks, and especially in India, IT being a very popular employer, there are a lot of folks who had a lot of discussion over there. But what you need to probably understand is by being more and more productive with a certain experience or a certain age does not necessarily mean that you will end up doing the things that you were doing when you were, say, 2 years of experience or 3 years of experience or whatever it is. At a certain age, after a certain level of experience, you need to be people managers. And that's about it. So you need to, what I'm basically recommending is, you need to put your, one hand on the other and sit very coolly around